Hello 520 students, and welcome to our last screencast overview for the course. In this screencast, I'm going to be just touching on some of the ideas for our last lesson in the class, Lesson 8. Before I get into the learning materials for Lesson 8, I do want to quickly pop over to our schedule and syllabus section of the course and open up the schedule for the class, because what you're going to notice about this last lesson is while it starts today, it is a little bit of a shorter lesson. It's only 5 days long because the course ends on Friday. And our due dates for this lesson are a little bit different than they have been in the rest of the course. So I wanted to talk about that. Usually our discussions, initial post is Wednesday, final post is Friday. But this week, because of that short ending date on Friday, we're kind of backing up the discussions. And it would be great if you could have your initial post done by the end of the day on Tuesday, and then your follow-up post done by the end of the day on Thursday. So this week, the discussion boards dates are Tuesday and Thursday, okay? We also have an exam, a self-reflection. It's 10 questions, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But this is due Wednesday by midnight. Okay, so discussions this week, Tuesday, Thursday. Your final exam self-reflection is due Wednesday. And then your final project, the paper that you've been working on that's either the oral history or the literature review, is due on Friday, the last day of the course. Remember, all assignments are due by 11:59 on the day that they're scheduled, 11:59 p.m. So just, to remind you, go back to the syllabus, make sure, or the schedule. Our due dates are a little off this week, but there they are for you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we're doing in this last week together. Okay, so I'm going into Lesson 8. Okay, so this is just really an opportunity in this lesson for us to wrap up everything that we've done in the course, okay? And so you've got 3 deliverables this week that you're turning in. One would be the discussion, the exam, and then the final project. So I'm going to click on through. Okay, so in this week's discussion, in the Lesson 8 discussion, you guys are sharing your completed RSA lesson plans. And so this discussion is kind of like twofold. I would love it if everybody could get in and post their lesson plans ASAP, even before Tuesday, because then what you could do is you can go in and make comments to others' posts by the end of the day on Tuesday, right? So your first post to this board, your initial post this week, is supposed to be reading somebody else's plan and giving comments on that plan, right? So you're going to select and review somebody else's SIOP plan. And you're going to, as you're reviewing it, right, when you respond to it, these are the things you're going to respond to about the plan that you're looking at. So you go in and post your plan ASAP, but then your first post of the board should be to respond to somebody else's lesson plan. And so you're going to find one that's that you want to review. And when you review their plan, you're going to discuss, you're going to tell them, why did you select this particular lesson plan? Comment on which of the components or elements of the plan you found most useful or interesting or enlightening, right? So there's lots of components across parts 1, 2, and 3. You do not have to comment on all of them, but pick out a few that you found really interesting, useful, or enlightening. And then you can also think about how some of the ideas from this lesson you want to take and use in your own practice, right? So you can provide ideas for how you plan to incorporate into your own practice when working with English language learners. So think about anything that you found in their lesson plan that you can take and use in your own practice. So that's your first post. Your first post is responding to somebody else's plan. Now, so then your last post of the board this week is to go back and look at the comments that anybody has made to your lesson plan, right? And respond, to some of those ideas, right? So respond to the feedback that they gave you, elaborate on some of the ideas that they shared about what they found useful or enlightening, or ideas that they want to take from your plan and apply to their practice. Somebody's already asked in the conversation board, what happens if nobody responds to our lesson plan? What do we do for our second post for the week? So if nobody's responded to your plan and it's getting up to the deadline for Thursday at midnight, right? Or let's say even Thursday at 7 p.m. for those of you that don't want to be up till midnight. Maybe you go in and instead of responding to others' ideas about your plan, you pick another PSYOP plan to review, right? So your second post this week, if nobody's responded to your plan in a timely manner, then your second post could be to find another plan and read it and review it and respond to the writers of that plan. So ideally, you first respond to somebody else for your initial post, and then for your response post, you give feedback or respond to the ideas that have shown up on the board for your plan. But if nobody responds to your plan, then your second post could be reading and reviewing an additional PSYOP plan from another RSA team. Okay, and remember, first post by Tuesday at midnight, second post Thursday by midnight. All right, then there's a 10-question final exam self-reflection. So there's already been a question on the board, one of the conversation boards, about how long do our responses need to be. There's not a minimum or a maximum word count for these questions, but probably what you'll want to do is think about not so much how many words. I'm going to see if this is going to let me launch it. Okay, how many words, but that you're really responding to the entire prompt, right? So question number 1, what class experiences have influenced you most? Okay, so already you know that this is more than one experience because we're saying experiences. So you have to think about at least 2 experiences across the class that experienced you most, and then cite specific examples and provide explanations, right? So an explanation's got to be the why, and give some examples about how that influenced you. Was it something your partner said? Was it working in a group on the RSA assignment? Was it really digging into the literature? You know, think of all the different experiences we've had in this class. So you've been doing discussion boards, you've been doing reading reflections, you've been working on your RSA, you've been doing and the RSA was both your standard alignment and your lesson plan, and you've been working on your final project, right? So those are a bunch of different class experiences. And then we can even go second level. So discussion about which topics or reading reflections attached to which literature, right? Which part of the lesson plan. So there's multiple experiences that we've had in the course. You should probably talk about at least 2, cite specific examples, and provide explanations. Okay. Now here, right, comment on how the readings influenced you both as a student and a teacher. Include your strengths and your weaknesses, right? So when you're thinking about strengths and weaknesses, this could be, how you found agreement in the literature to say, hey, I read this and I'm already doing that, and that lets me know that I'm doing the right thing for ELLs. Or, hey, as a future teacher, when this came up in the reading, I realized that's something that I got to get better at, right? So how the readings have influenced you as a student and as a teacher in terms of your strengths and your weaknesses. So again, I'm not going to go through all of these questions, but I will tell you that what you want to do is make sure that it's not about the word count, but it's ensuring that you've responded to every aspect of the prompt for the question, okay? The other thing that you'll notice is for these tests, you can save all your answers. Okay, so let me see if I can lift this up a little bit. Maybe I can't. But there's a little button down here at the bottom that says Save All Answers. And so you can come back to your quiz multiple times before you save and submit, right? So if I were you, I would get in and maybe review these questions. I would probably even copy and paste the questions into a Word doc or a Google Doc, type up my answers there so that I could, check for spelling, make sure I have it all, and then just copy and paste my answers back into this quiz submission. And so that is your final exam. And remember, that's going to be due on Wednesday. Okay. Now let me see if I can get out of here, which is going to be the interesting part. Maybe I have to hit Save All Answers. Okay. Okay. So working our way back through, right? The last area of our lesson this week. So you do your final exam, right? Oh, 2 areas. Okay, so the last deliverable that we need from you is your final project submission. Okay, so this is where you're going to submit by the end of the day on Friday your final project. You're either doing an oral history project or you're doing a literature review, but both include literature review aspects. And somebody's already asked in the conversation board, how long do our papers need to be? So I want to go back to major assignments for a second and, show you there's a lot of information here about your final project. One's highlighted right here. The final project should consist of a minimum of 10 double-spaced pages, not including your cover and reference pages, right? So if you're thinking about what is the minimum, how many pages must I fill? It should be 10 double-spaced, not including a cover page and your references. There's lots of resources, remember, on this major assignments page to help you with your paper in this last go. And the best thing that you can do when you're reviewing or getting ready for submission is to review the final project rubric, right? And go through your paper and ensure that for each section of this rubric, you've covered that in your paper. All right, so that's how you can ensure that you will be successful with what you need to do for your paper. Now, this week too, if you'd like feedback from your instructional team member on a portion of your paper, I'm sure we're all willing to review sections of your paper for you. What you would need to do is give us at least 24 hours to review your work. So if you have a section of your paper that you want us to review, you can email that to your instructional team member, but it would have to be like sometime on Wednesday so we could get it back to you sometime on Thursday before you have to submit it on Friday. And when you do email us, if you want some review on your paper, then what you want to do is pick one section of your paper that you want us to review, right? So you can use the rubric again to talk about which section you want us to review. So you might say, hey, can you review the collection of literature section of my paper? Or can you look at the body of my paper? Or can you look at my introduction, right? Can you check some of my formatting, right? But before you ask us to review it, you also need to use the rubric yourself and tell us, I think it would score, in the exemplary range because, and use the language of the rubric. Or I think it would score in the well done because I'm looking for ways that I can improve, right? So if you want some feedback from us, we're totally willing to give it to you. Send us the section that you want us to look at. Tell us, what you think you're already scoring on that section, why, and how we can support you, and make sure you give us 24 hours to get it back to you. And your final paper is due by Friday at 11:59 p.m. All right, then the very last thing, which is almost the most important, you guys. So far, about half of you have completed the evaluation for the course. We would love to hear from everybody in this class. Your ideas are very important to us, so please, please, please fill out the online course and instructor evaluation. We do take your guys' ideas and try to use those to improve future offerings of the course. All right, as an instructional team, we're here to support you in this final stretch. You guys are going to do amazing. We know you're going to finish the course strong, and we're really excited to read your final projects and to see what you've discovered about your research topic. Okay, that's it. Good luck.